What Tom, David, and I wanted to do was, not only did we bring up the treasurer for political issues earlier, but we also wanted to show to you what a qualified, dynamic individual he is. And take the issues that were discussed in that roundtable discussion, bring them here to this table, and then ask the next governor, how can the state government help to address those issues? There's no set agenda. The only thing I'd like to do is if we could just go around the table and introduce everybody, and then I'm going to put the pressure on Elton McCallum to come up with the first issue that they had. I told you there was no set agenda, but he was at the other one. Just come up with one of the issues that you people discussed and throw it out, and then we can talk about it, and hopefully the treasurer can help us out tonight. We also, he's a staunch supporter of education, so it's great that it's here at UMass Lowell, right near the next judicial center in the Commonwealth.
And, I look forward to the ribbon cutting.
Let's start with, well, Steve, why don't you start with yourself?
We go right around the room. I'm Steve Grossman. I spent 35 years of my life running a fourth-generation family business, Grossman Marketing in Somerville, before I was elected state treasurer in 2010.
I'm sorry.
David, stop texting. Yeah, put your hand up.
And that was it. And I feel like I'm back at St. Margaret's. I'm being reprimanded by Sister Sal's over here to my left. Dave Nangle, one of the state reps from the city of Lowell.
Roddy Mom from Mom Therapy. I'm a third-generation practitioner, healer, Lowell, Massachusetts.
Diane Fred, Department of Planning and Development of the City of Lowell. Rosemary Doing, Assistant Director of the Lowell Plan.
I'm Jim Cook. I'm with the Lowell Plan and the Lowell Development Financial Corporation.
John Ostrowski, I'm a Policy and Issues Director on Steve's campaign.
Alfred McCallum, President and CEO of Jones Peppers.
Good afternoon, I'm Carol Cowan, President of Middlesex Community College. Still.
Jay Linehan, the Executive Vice President of Middlesex Community College.
Ropa Malone, Chair of the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, and I'm also with Enterprise Bank.
Kevin Coughlin, active in the healthcare community of Lowell.
Steve Tello, Associate Vice Chancellor for Entrepreneurship and Economic Development at the University. Welcome to campus. We're really excited to have you up here today.
Nancy Saucier, I do new venture development also for the University of Massachusetts Lowell.
Oh, your timing's perfect.
Perfect timing. Bob Crusoe, Lowell Tyson Savings Bank. A little late. Steve, how are you?
Sam Polton, local business owner, ERA Key on Market Street in Lowell, and 980 WCAP on Central Street in Lowell.
My name is Corey Belanger. I'm a member of the Lowell City Council, and I'm also a small businessman here in the downtown for 15 years.
Tom Golden, State Representative from the City of Lowell, and I work for David and Kevin.
And he's right.
Yes, I'm glad you got the meeting.
I just want to point out Karen Moynihan, my district director in the back. She actually put the whole thing together, not me. So let's just start with Alvin. What was one of your major concerns as Lowell is facing these days?
Well, I don't think it's just Lowell. I think it's the country's no jobs. We need to recreate middle class by putting people back to work and good paying jobs. What I'm very, very concerned about is the disparity between the very rich and the very poor right now. And we need to, not only at the local level, but at the national level, make job creation a top priority.
Let me take a quick step back. Having spent most of my life running a family business that had created a lot of good jobs, good paying jobs over a long period of time, 35 years, which I had been there part of a 104-year family tradition. When I started to run for treasurer, it was the middle of 2009. It was the middle of the worst recession in 75 years. And I facilitated a group of roundtable discussions among small business owners. And in every one of those meetings, I took my father's advice. My father said, Steve, you were born with one mouth and two ears. Try to use them in that proportion. Nobody ever learned anything when they were talking. You learn when you listen. So I asked one question and then stopped talking. And the question was, how can we in government help remove or lower roadblocks? Or how can we do things in a positive way that are going to enhance the likelihood that small businesses will grow, develop, flourish, because most of the jobs in this country, in the Merrimack Valley, in the state, in Lowell, are created by small business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are willing to work 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week to be successful. So when you listen to small business owners, they begin to tell you about the cost of health care, about technical assistance. I don't know how to put a cash flow statement together. I don't know how to put a marketing plan together. I have an idea, but I need some help. Or permitting and regulation sometimes gets in the way. How do you speed up the process of permitting and regulation? Because time is money for most business owners. And finally, access to capital. I heard access to capital over and over again. And the day after I was sworn in as treasurer in January of 2011, I was invited on CAP, and I'm waiting to get on, and I hear the programming before I got on, and a fellow named Rich Bolton was talking about banking. So that struck imagination, and I called Sam afterwards. I said, Sam, what can we do about this? He said, you want to meet Bob Caruso. So one day in February, in the middle of a snowstorm, a 14-inch snowstorm, these two guys drive from Lowell to the State House to meet with me. It took them 2.5 hours to get there. Bob began to describe the challenges that the small business owners, his customers, were facing. I said, we're going to create a small business banking partnership. We're going to take the state's reserve deposits, your money, my money, our money, 60% of which are sitting in banks in Europe, Australia, and Asia, overseas, chasing a higher rate of return, because that's our responsibility, get the highest rate of return. We're going to bring that money back to Massachusetts. We're going to deposit it in local banks like Lowell 5, and all they have to do is give us a competitive interest rate on the money, so there's not a penny of taxpayer subsidy in the program. They have to insure or collateralize the money so we can't lose any money. They have to loan money to small businesses with the money, and the focus, no quotas, but the focus is on businesses that are owned by women, people of color, immigrants, and veterans. Try to level the playing field, leave no one behind. That was the philosophy. What's happened? In the last 2.5 years, we have put over $350 million in 53 community banks, of which 2 banks, Bob's Bank and Rich's Bank, are 2. They in turn have taken the money. We put $10 million into Lowell 5. They in turn have made over $14 million of loans as of last count, almost 100 small business loans. And it's created in the aggregate $1 billion of small business lending. We don't make the loans, but we make the money available, and we're a catalyst. So you take the small business sector of the economy, and you take banks that are willing to lend money to the small businesses all over the state, Lowell, wherever they happen to be, and at least it is a catalyst for growth. So that's one thing that we've done. What I'm interested in learning from all of you is, what are the unique qualities that you are seeing here at Lowell in the Merrimack Valley, and what are the things that, let's assume I have been elected governor yesterday, so I'm now the governor-elect, not just a candidate. What are the things that you would urge me to do as governor, using the whole toolbox that I would have as governor, the whole basket of resources, to create the kind of ecosystem, if you want to use that word, that will nurture and grow and develop jobs and small businesses, whether they are in the sandbox or whether they are in the restaurant business. Because we're not just talking about one kind of job. I mean, we may be the state where 40% of the jobs, 40% of the people working here are in the innovation economy. But there are an awful lot of business opportunities that may not be innovation economy, but are still great jobs, great paying jobs. One of the things you talked about at your roundtable was this phenomenon called onshoring, manufacturing coming back from overseas to the United States, because the differential in terms of labor costs has made it easier for manufacturing companies. I've said that I want to create 50,000 new manufacturing jobs in Massachusetts in the next 5 years. The Merrimack Valley understands manufacturing. It's in your bones. It's in your DNA. So how can we nurture and cultivate and grow that environment? What's the role of small business owners, banks, city planners, community colleges, public colleges and universities to play that role? In some cases, government should play an active role. In some cases, government can get out of the way. And we have to be smart enough to know the difference. So I hope that each one of you and by the time we finish this conversation, that each one of you will have participated in some way to add your voice to my understanding so that I can move out and go forth from this meeting with a better understanding of how one of the flagship communities in this Commonwealth. Everybody knows that of all the gateway cities in this state, all 26 gateway cities, there is no city that has had a more carefully developed, carefully calibrated, and thoughtful and innovative strategy. More working artists in the Merrimack Valley these days than ever before, more than 500 working artists. I had a tour of the condos and the artist studios with Senator Donahue a year and a half ago. It was an extraordinary visit, and I saw what's going on here. So this is not a simple question, it's not a simple answer, but there's a combination of things. When people work together, when there's a collegiality and a collaborative spirit, that's when things get done. And that's what I see the city having at this moment, a platform for growth to take what you've done here and take it to the next level. Because of the academic institutions, because of the nonprofits, because of planning, because of coordination, and above all, because of the genius of the entrepreneurial sector of the economy. So let me now spend the rest of this meeting, or most of the rest of this, listening, and let me go around the room. Let me just arbitrarily start with Carol, because I came here when I first ran for governor in 2002. I met with you and Nikki. Nikki was working for you at the time, and we had a wonderful conversation because you talked eloquently about the role that community colleges play. I'm a big believer. I'm chair of the Mass School Building Authority. We're just putting significant amount of money in Greater Lowell VOTEC to bring it up to a whole new level, to close the skills gap. Not narrow the skills gap, to close the skills gap. That's where the young people not only learn English and math and economics, but they also learn something that they can take with them for the rest of their lives. They may go to a college, they may get a manufacturing certificate, they may come to UMass Lowell, they may go to Harvard. There are no limits to what these young people can achieve. The point being, if we take the relationship between business owners, entrepreneurs, VOTEC leaders, community college presidents and their colleagues, higher education institutions, four-year schools, private and public, and we put that together and we have a continuum between the parents, the labor market, the educators, and the small business owners, then you've got a formula for the kind of cooperation that can really create the workforce that will populate a newly created, a newly nurtured manufacturing environment. Precision manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, computer-controlled manufacturing. That's today's manufacturing. It's not my grandfather's manufacturing. This is new manufacturing, paying $55, $65, $75, $80, as much as $100,000 a year with overtime. These are great jobs. These are middle-class jobs. You can buy a house. You can educate your kids. You can take a vacation. You can retire. We need to recreate. I couldn't agree with you more. The middle class is what we need to focus on. How do you bring more people back to the middle class? Because too many people are falling out of the middle class with this income inequality that we've seen so rampant in this country. And that's what this conversation is all about.